Hello, Tarot Tube, or Facebook, or wherever you're seeing this. It is time for me to jump back into doing my weekly forecast spread. It's just a little spread I like to try and do on Mondays to sort of give me some inkling on what might be present for me this week and what I need to keep in mind or prepare for. Again, this is a really simple 3-card spread from Benebell Wen's 22 weeks with the SKT, and it's worked for me thus far. And honestly, sometimes I just like to stick with what I've done before because my brain doesn't have the brain power right now to be swapping to a new weekly spread, although I will be looking into other options probably next week, and also looking at my deck lineup and seeing if there are any other decks that I want to use for this practice. I have really enjoyed using the Spirit Keeper's Tarot for this, and I actually don't think I've gotten every card in the deck to come out using it for this spread each week. So there is still, incentive for me to keep using this deck this year. But it's also nice to switch it up once in a while. So maybe I will use this for my weekly spread still and try and, throw in some full moon and new moon spreads with other decks perhaps. Or maybe I will, use this one for my Monday forecast and then use various other decks for my daily pulls. So I'm trying to be a little bit quiet. Apologies if my voice is a little breathy, but I am hiding from my daughter so I can do this quickly before I feed her breakfast. Do not judge me, but yeah, she's happily occupied at the moment, or preoccupied, and that means I get to steal a few moments to do this and get back into the habit, because I haven't done this for probably 5 weeks now. Oops. And I definitely feel a little bit untethered or unanchored, considering everything that is going on in the world over in my home country of the US. I feel pretty unsettled and, pretty dismayed and pretty helpless and hopeless to change much, considering where I am. But I know there are things that I can be doing to make it harder for racists and bigots to take hold. So I'm going to concentrate on what I can do, I think, this week. I've got a new altar cloth here from Pepper Raccoon here in New Zealand, who is an artist who does awesome stickers and t-shirts and hoodies and graphic design. It is a little slip-slidey, so I think it's probably best if I use it as a reading cloth on top of another tablecloth, maybe out and about at market stalls. So just have to remember to keep my elbows off of it. Right, I am just shuffling, asking the deck what I need to know for this week, and the 3-card positions from this spread are basically: card number 1 is the spirit most present with me, who will be most present with me this week. Card number 2 is what is in my highest interest to prioritize this week. And card number 3 will be what I should be preparing for. So the way I kind of translate those cards when I'm doing my interpretation is, card number 1 is maybe a main theme, of the week. Card number 2 is, keep this in mind or streamline this area of your life this week if you can. And card number 3 is, what possibly might be coming up for next week or what will help me transition easier into next week. It might not be what Benebell intended, but that's how I like to look at it. I like to split my deck into 3 piles and then sort of run my hand over it and see if I get a zing on any of the piles. I think it's the middle one this week. All right, let's see what I'm going to be doing this week or be dealing with. Okay, so card number 1. I think that's the first time I've gotten this card in my spread. Card number 2 might be also the first time I've gotten this in one of my weeklies. This might be a new trio of cards here for me. So we've got the Seeker, which is one of the options Benebell includes for the Fool. We've got the Necromancer, which is the Moon card. And we've got the Burdened one, which is 10 of Scepters or 10 of Wands. So the spirit that will be most present with me this week is the Seeker. So I wonder if that means I'll be, trying to reframe where I'm at currently and being open to new beginnings and doing things in a new way. I'm also planning on working on sort of product prototypes for my Witchy Wares market stall. I do tarot and oracle readings as my main offering, but I like to have some small amount of stock for people who want some witchy stuff. And so this week I basically have to run all over town to get ingredients for different product ideas. So the fact that this came up is kind of cool because I will be trying to figure out how everything works together. If the ingredients go well together for various items and packaging, display ideas, and it will be very much a case of me testing it out. So I wonder, I haven't read the description on this card, so I don't know if that is even close to what will be in the Book of Maps, but we'll find out in a second. The highest interest for me to prioritize this week is the Moon, and I wonder if that's me sort of diving more into these feelings of unease that I have. Sorry for the noise, I'm just turning behind me to grab the Book of Maps off my shelf. So, yeah, I mean, the Moon is not a stranger to me. I'm a Pisces, and it is a big water card. It doesn't usually come up for me in readings, though, so that's interesting. But, yeah, I wonder if this is some sort of, call to try and dive into these emotions and unknowns, a little bit of anxieties about the future, and just, dig into what it is that's making me uncomfortable around that. And I think if I can shed light on it, it will help me understand myself better, and it will help me, possibly feel like I have a little more control over my response to situations than I normally would. I feel like this could also be diving into the unknowns of all the market stuff that I'm trying to do and learning more about what I want the products to look like and feel like and smell like and exactly, what intentions I want to set for those, because I really haven't had a chance to sit down and formulate hard ideas. I'm just kind of grabbing a bunch of ingredients and seeing what I can produce. I do have sort of a loose outline of things to do, but I'm sort of one of those people that can be hard for me to visualize things unless I have not physical objects in front of me, but I want to be able to see, what the textures of some things are and what some things smell like. And with some of the ingredients, it's not like going to the store and grabbing ingredients for a meal. It could be pretty variable depending on, what the quality of the ingredients are and the size of the stuff I can find that's close and available to me. So, yeah. Anywho, I'm a bit babbly about this, sorry. And then, the burden one. So I am heading into, in 2 weeks, well, in sort of 2 weeks and a bit, I'm heading into a very busy market that hopefully will be very successful. And I need to make all of these products basically for that market and hopefully have, at least some stock available. So I feel like it is going to be a lot of work. And in my mind, I have been preparing for that. So the 10 of Wands here coming up is really probably the most unsurprising card out of this entire spread. But maybe it's a sign that I will feel pretty tired and, pretty over it by the time that market actually comes and ready to sort of look at a newer thing. So unsure, but let's dive into the Seeker here, Key 0, the Spirit in Search of Science, and see what exactly Benebell has. Where is it? Okay. There we go. So the Seeker. Prevailing energy is balancing, rejuvenating, and rationalizing. Hold on, I just want to make sure I am. Yep, that's right. Okay. So the power cultivated is astral travel. Attribute manifested is the inaugurate or the investiture. And basically, the card description says, before the threshold marked by the twin pillars, two hands clasped in prayer. Offer 3 white roses to the divine spirits. 1 is in full bloom and 2 are still in rosebuds. The white rose symbolizes reverence, esotericism, to keep silent, and purity of spirit, and it indicates that the seeker has been cleansed and consecrated and in a serene state prior to coming before the threshold for communion with the divine. So this is the adept as a mystic fool. The 2 closed rosebuds indicate that which has not been revealed to the seeker. They symbolize the dual nature of the prophecy to come, the reading the spirits will be giving you. Supporting the clasped, I can't read today, the clasped hands on either side of the open palms. Supporting the clasped hands on either side are open palms ready to receive. Oh, I didn't even notice that. So there are 2 sets of hands here. That's kind of cool. This is the Mystic Fool, a spirit in search of science. The speaker commences the inner and outer alchemical journey to know God. Wow, that's a little more spiritual than I was bargaining for this week. Beyond the threshold, the seeker must cross the bridge over the stream of consciousness. The relief patterns of many Buddhas on the ceiling signify the prospects and the paths of enlightenment, of which there are many. There is no one and only one true way. After the bridge, the seeker must navigate through many uncertain chambers. In the distance, you can see your fox spirit companion napping comfortably, waiting for you. That's pretty cute. There's a little itty bitty fox. And the card meaning says, the seeker marks the confrontation of a threshold, a decisive act that must be taken to initiate a journey. With the seeker, the journey is to come. With the seeker, the journey to come is one for gaining advanced knowledge. I suppose that is, exactly what I was picturing. So it says, use the seeker as key 0 in the tarot deck. When you've already started your journey, but have come to a roadblock, you now need guidance midstream. Are you on the right path? Why are you encountering these hurdles now? And how can you gain further insight and clarity into the many unknowns? So I am the seeker in search of systematic knowledge of the cosmos. So I already know which path to take, but I've got to step over that initial difficult threshold. That is so accurate for me this week. And one of the paragraphs said, until you have put in more effort, the gods will not reveal to you where to find what you're looking for. You still need to prove yourself worthy. Nobody is born the one. Nobody is born worthy. It is an embodiment that you must prove you're capable of being. Double your efforts. I can't say I agree with that paragraph at all. I think I have lived enough of my life trying to prove myself to other people. So I damn sure don't need to prove myself to any gods. I am worthy just as I am. Do I want to be better than I was yesterday or no more than I did yesterday? Yes, but I don't need to prove myself to anybody. So don't agree with that one, sorry. Let's see here. It talks about keeping up your faith, both faith in your greatness and faith that you wouldn't be here at this threshold if you weren't meant to be here, and that you shall prevail. So I do take that as a good sign that I am where I need to be right now in my journey with figuring myself out, figuring out what I'm doing with my, my small business, and experimenting with, things I enjoy in general. So I'll take that as a confirmation. The second card, again, is the card that symbolizes what I should prioritize this week. And that is the moon, key 18, the necromancer. And so this card pictures Anubis, or Anubis, however you want to say that, or however it is said, standing before the river that diverges behind him to form the two ways. Two vertical panels along the right and left edges. Hopefully that's focusing. Two panels along the right and left edges. Adjacent to the balancing scales read as follows. The god Anubis, son of Set and Nephthys, jackal god who embalms the dead and guides the souls of the blessed to the other world, the opener of roads. Huh. I didn't realize he was the opener of roads. So the card description sort of describes, all the symbols in the card, from the crook and the flail, symbols of sovereignty and authority as the great protector, and the symbol of prosperity and the jackal god's powers to safeguard your well-being. So that's kind of nice. It does give a little bit of one of the myths around Anubis and a little bit of a background on who he is. And basically he's standing at the scales where a heart is being weighed against Mat's feather of truth. So this is where it's kind of interesting that this card was all about proving my worthiness. And this card is about, being measured or weighed, and whether I will be found wanting or not. So let me see. Card meaning is, it says, oftentimes it can mark the dark night of the soul or having to pay closer attention to your dreams. And she mentions the Book of Thoth represents this question when the moon card appears to you. To what god shall we appeal for aid? And I have been feeling a little bit like that about the general state of everything going on in the world. Crowley notes that the moon card designates midnight. She reads that as the metaphor for the dark night of the soul. When the moon card appears to you, there's a foreboding sense of darkness. Though if we look up at the crescent moon and see it as waning, then we know that darkness is but a new moon to come. Consider the darkest hour of the night. One with experience or one who knows what is to come is unafraid of that hour, though will nevertheless remain cautious, because experience and foreknowledge brings us the understanding that the sun will rise soon enough. However, the inexperienced and the ignorant will be profoundly afraid of that darkest hour, because in the moment the darkness feels never-ending. And that is what the moon card in tarot is about. The moon card is sinister and forbidding. It is the threshold of life. It is the threshold of death. All is doubtful, all is mysterious. That's a quote from Crowley. She says, to me, the moon card expresses the cyclic nature of life and death, and therefore the key is the gateway of resurrection. She's changed the title from the moon to the necromancer to more precisely convey that sense of prophetic resurrection. So, this card is to guide us through the uncertainties and darkness to come. And it's asking me to listen to the mental echo of subconscious realization. It's the mystery and the animal nature in us that comes out when we succumb to fear or have to face the unknown. When we are in the throes of uncertain times, wading through the dark night of our soul, our animal instincts come out full throttle for better or for worse. So, this is a card of rhythm and cycles, and what goes around comes around, I guess. To me, that is also a little bit of the Wheel of Fortune. But I have been feeling like, just for a little bit of social commentary, whenever there is progress made in the U.S. on a civil rights and human rights level and racial equality level, there is always pushback in the next term or the next wave. And I guess all I can do is hold on until the pendulum comes back the other way, is kind of how I feel about things. If we're going to dive into why I feel so doom and gloom. But, also on a more day-to-day level, this is me still finding my way in this new chapter of my life where I am self-employed and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and trying to figure out what is best for my family during that time. So, I guess I can be a little activated when I am feeling threatened or insecure. So that makes sense. And the last card, the burden one, the 10 of Wands here, is what I'm to prepare for. And again, I kind of look at that as what might be coming up next week, or, just kind of a clue about what I might not feel this week, but by the end of the week, I'll be heading into. And it makes sense. It makes sense that I will be feeling a bit tired and a bit overworked and a bit over it and a bit ready to put some things down and change focus. So let me just find that in the book of maps here. Where are you? Okay. Got the Ten of Swords. Ten of Orbs. I think that's the last one, so Wands must be first. There we go. Wow, there's a lot on this card in this book. Okay, so a little bit about the tens. Benebell calls the realm of tens mounting. She says 10 is the number of transformation. It is the mounting atop a peak and now the waning or unwinding period down to repeat the cycle in another incarnation. And that's how I look at tens as well. So 9 to me is completion. Tens is sort of an excess of energy, and we look to sort of start the cycle again when there's a 10. So she says the 10 of scepters is the materialized labors and trials born from key 10, the wheel of life. And it is all about Malkut, the material world, so that is where the tens are on the tree of life. And we've got the card description here. So along the bottom of the image, 2 human hands grasp on the 2 scepters. 8 more scepters with 4 crossing 4 form an X balanced on top of the 2. Oh no, I have gotten this card once before because I remember that description and thinking that's a really neat way to sort of have all of the wands balancing on 2 wands, which are controlled by hands. So I thought that was really interesting. So form an X balanced on top of the 2, which the struggling hands must have the strength to sustain. Through the slats of the crisscross scepters is the image of Atlas, the Titan who led the war against Zeus and the Olympians, and after the Titan's defeat, was condemned by Zeus to carry the weight of the heavens upon his shoulders. At the opposite end of the parallel scepters are the hands of spirit, one red, one blue, each bearing the sigillum Dei, or seal of God, sourced from the 13th century grimoire, the sworn book of Honorius or Liber Juratus. And she goes into the Atlas. I knew a little bit about the Atlas already because this is featured in it's featured in the Ace of Coins on the Terra Volatile. And I'd never actually read about the myth of Atlas before, so that was a pretty interesting little deep dive. She talks about crystalline spheres in reference to Aristotle's theory that each of these rings in the diagram were spheres that canopy over Earth, with Earth at the center. And she says that according to Aristotle's model, not counted in the 10 spheres is the material world of Earth, which itself consists of 3 elemental spheres, so the tria prima, fire, water, and air. And this is just sort of, I guess, the theory on maybe what the universe was way back in the day. So based on the cosmology proposed by Aristotle way back in the 1st century AD. I'll have to look more into that. But this is already getting very long, so I want to wrap this up. Okay, so she says, astrologically, the 10 of scepters connects to key 21, the New World Order, through Saturn, traditionally the world card in tarot. There's also the numerological connection to key 10, the Wheel of Life. The wheel emblem from Postel's key, featured in key 10, appears as a ring around the base of each pillar in the Temple of the Cosmos. The cosmic pillars are also reminiscent of key 19, the warrior, the other numerological ruler over the realm of tens. In the distance, we see a glimpse of another solar system. Oh, yep, I see it right there where my thumb is. I don't know if that's focusing, sorry. One of the inner rings features a more prominent star or planet, a parallel existence to human life on Earth in our own solar system. And along the bottom right corner of the illustration are two oxen pulling the wheel of life. Oh, yep. Man, she includes so much in each card. It's just amazing. There's the oxen. Okay, so she then tells us, what she uses as references for her art here. But the card meaning here is I'm feeling the weight, or I will be feeling the weight of the universe on my shoulders, and that I alone bear the responsibility of holding up the sky so that my loved ones may thrive. If that's not the truth, I don't know what is. I have been really struggling with this new era of earning for my family, and previously I've always been the main breadwinner, and now I am not, so this is new for me. So maybe I'm just, wearing myself out in other ways than I used to. Let me see here. Through the Burden One's connection to the World card from the Major Arcana, one message that comes through is the popular adage, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Since we're in the minors, the Ten of Scepters isn't considering the theme of great power, but rather is focused on the day-to-day toil of great responsibility. Atlas would never have been tasked to hold up the heavens if he did not first possess the superior strength to do so. So she says, yes, this is the card of oppression, of being burdened, of having to carry more than your weight, but there are underlying events that have led up to why you're carrying such weight, and that's worth mentioning. So Waite and Crowley both reconcile a chasm of interpretation between the classical Marseille attribution and the more popularized interpretation for this card by saying that it is success in your incredible achievement of status that has put you in the position of oppression. Because the Marseille attribution for the card is honor, fortune, gains, and many matters of success. So the Marseille deck kind of looks at it more favorably than, I guess, the Golden Dawn tradition. She says when it shows up in your readings, it's first a positive card validating your exceptional abilities. In the context of your world, you are a Titan, and never forget that. It's because you can that others have pushed you into the obligatory position of you must. And she also says, feeling like the Burden One is part of a greater task that you've been assigned, and you're being called to exert the full span of your abilities for the greater benefit of humanity. Yeah, I don't know about that either, but it's a nice thought, I suppose. I think this card sort of brings with it a risk of martyrdom, and I really don't want to fall into that trap. Like, I realize that right now I am choosing to do these things. It's not that I must do them, so I think that's where this card is a little different for me now, where when I was, employed previously, I would feel like more like I have to do this. But I think this spread in this reading has helped me realize that I get to do this. Like, it's not a must for me right now, and that's a very privileged position for me to be in. So for the first time in my life, I am getting to do and work in ways that I'm choosing to do so instead of, just the highest paying job that I could find the fastest. And that's kind of where my career path was prior to here. Although it was very fortuitous, and don't get me wrong, I could have had way worse jobs and worked for way worse teams. But the amount of work that we were being asked to do was unsustainable as a whole to my mental health. And it did send me into a burnout. So whenever I see this card, I'm always a little wary of triggering another episode of burnout for myself. But I think the difference here is even if I am going to be working very hard and, carrying a lot of weight, this is enjoyable weight. And it's more authentic weight for me to be carrying than I've ever carried before. So I'm going to choose to see that as a positive. So I will be tired probably over the next few weeks, but it will be for good reasons. So yeah, thank you so much if you have made it this far. Sorry if it was a little babbly, but that was sort of my raw thought process in real time on me doing my own 3-card spread for the week ahead, and just kind of getting to deep dive a little bit. Maybe not deep dive, maybe shallow dive into more cards around Benebell Wen Spirit Keepers Tarot. And I hope that you have a very lovely week. Thank you so much for subscribing and watching and commenting on my videos. I didn't think anybody, I started this just to get comfortable with being on camera and listening to myself talk. And to my surprise, there are almost 100 of you doing so or checking out my videos. So that is really exciting. Yeah, I really don't know exactly what my channel will end up being, but I am going to try and record some more deck flip throughs and reply to some, do some VRs to TarotTube community videos, because I have really enjoyed kind of dipping my toe in the waters and getting to meet some of you in other people's lives. It's been really fun. So thank you so much for being here as a community, and thank you so much for the warm welcome. And I hope that amidst all this chaos, you can find some glimmers of joy this week as we live in these weird and wonderful times. Okay, thank you so much. Take care.